Toronto Blue Jays have made multiple surprising moves as we are now a week away from opening day against the Baltimore Orioles. The Jays continue to make moves as it pertains to trimming down their spring training lineup. And a couple of the moves that the Jays made, including one specific player, is very intriguing. We're going to break that down, discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down an unbelievable performance from Will Wagner that has forced the Jays' hand. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, as well as a couple other updates. But before we get into it, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is a place to be for daily Jays content. If you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed, make sure to smash that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. Now, obviously, we know that we've been talking about on this channel a lot. I mean, opening day is a week away, and there's a lot of different prospects that have been shining throughout the entirety of spring training, whether that be Alan Roden, a bunch of guys that have really caught the eye of not only Jays fans, but the front office as well, and the Vladdy conversation, of course. But just following tonight's game or this afternoon's game, we got a handful of moves, and we'll break down the game a little bit later in the video. But I want to start with these moves here. The following players have been assigned to the minor league camp and optioned to AAA. So this is we're at the point of the year now where a bunch of different players are going to be reassigned, are going to be taken away from the major league camp because they, of course, aren't going to make the team. Now, you can see the players here: Mason Flaherty, Kevin Gowdy, Hayden Jenger, and Matt Watley. They've been reassigned to the minor league camp. The players that have been optioned to AAA to start the year are Jake Bloss, Jonathan Clase, Orelvis Martinez, Dylan Tate, and Josh Walker. So a bunch of different moves here. Now, there is some surprising moves out of this bunch. And again, I wouldn't say any of these besides one player, and you might be seeing, I mean, there's a couple players here, but let's start with the one player that probably is the most familiar with a lot of you guys, and that is Orelvis Martinez. Now, Jake Bloss as well, we'll dive into him a little bit. I think he was always going to start the season at AAA just simply because, A, he needs some more work. He struggled at the major league level, and for him, he had a bit of a rough spring, but bounced back fairly well towards the tail half of the spring. However, we're going to focus on Orelvis Martinez now because it seems that the Jays have made their decision pretty clear as it pertains to Orelvis Martinez. Now, as spring training went along, a lot of us Jays fans, we never really thought that Orelvis was going to make the team out of opening day. However, there was a lot of advocates for Orelvis Martinez starting on the big league roster, just being a DH against left-handed pitching. Now, he didn't light up spring training by any means, and that's probably why he did get sent down. But as it pertains to Orelvis, he is now going to start the season in AAA, and he's going to have to prove himself at that level following his PED suspension. And if that suspension hadn't happened, if he hadn't gotten suspended for PEDs, he probably would have been fighting for a spot last year towards the tail end, which would have helped him towards a push this year. But for him, he got sent down. And let me know if you're surprised by that. I'm a little bit surprised at the option in AAA already. I was thinking that, I mean, there was a small, minute chance that they actually kept him just because how many other players they have. And obviously, David Schneider, Alan Roden remains up. But a couple other guys that got sent down are Jonathan Clase. He doesn't look MLB ready at this point. He has tools that can definitely propel him into being a major league player fairly soon, maybe even as early as this year, depending on how things go. Obviously, his number one tool, I believe he has a 70 grade speed. So his speed and his defense, we got 70 grade speed according to MLB Pipeline. So that's interesting. But Jake Bloss as well. Now, like I just mentioned, Jake Bloss and Orelvis Martinez are the two names that are the most common among Jays fans because they're the top prospects. Jake Bloss, again, needed time and needs time in AAA. I think that Yariel Rodriguez is their backup pitcher. When I say backup pitcher, I mean the guy that if Max Scherzer, who we have an update on later in this video, if Max Scherzer remains out to start the season, I would assume Yariel Rodriguez would probably be the one to step up. And as you start to look at the bullpen here, now that, Jake Bloss is down, a couple of the other guys as well, as you look at this, Mason Flaherty pitched like 7 innings of 1 run and 1 hit ball or something crazy like that, 1-run ball. Mason Flaherty is a very good guy out of the bullpen. He gets sent down as well. And you can see here, you look at it, their bullpen now, Zach Pop got injured earlier today as well. Not today, but the injury got announced today, so he's going to start the season on the IL. So you'd assume Tommy Nance is going to be the one who probably remains in the bullpen, along with, of course, Ryan Yarbrough, who's not here as well. So things are really starting to shape up for this team now. And Dylan Tate, the guy they signed to a major league deal, is going to start the season in AAA. Going to be interesting to see how he, goes. Maybe he, end up getting called back up and he starts the. I mean, there's a chance that things can change from here on out, but you would assume that Dylan Tate's probably going to start the season down in AAA just because of the way that everyone is. I mean, they have a lot of bullpen arms that are righties. I mean, Jeff Hoffman, Chad Green, Jimmy Garcia, Nick Sandlin. Those are all staples in the bullpen. Then from there, you kind of have to start, picking and choosing. But there is a chance, of course, that Dylan Tate still remains on the big league roster very soon. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on these moves. Another note here, and this is an interesting one. You see here, nothing too surprising except maybe that Baroa is still an option. Stuart Baroa remains with the team. Now, I still think Orelvis, it's a little bit surprising that he's down this early, but regardless of that, Stuart Baroa is remaining in the team for now, which means he is still an option for this team to, I guess, break camp because they still need their starting center fielder. Now, let's assume that, Dalton Varsho is going to start the season as the DH on opening day. You have to choose center fielders between Nathan Lucas, Joey Loperfido, and now, Stuart Baroa. Now, I'm assuming they're going to go with Nathan Lucas. There is a chance to go with Joey Loperfido, but that's still a big question mark there. So, a lot of interesting moves. Jonathan Clase was technically an option. He was never going to actually get there. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But AAA is looking pretty stacked, and Aurelvis Martinez remains on the outside looking in for yet another year, and he was unable to break spring training. A couple other things. Mark Shapiro also, as it breaks down, let's go into some of the updates now. He spoke very highly of number 5 prospect Alan Roden, who is still with the team. He said he's a winning type of player. There's no question. He both projects well from a purely objective standpoint and subjectively has the attributes you want to build a winning environment, which is a pretty classic, funny Mark Shapiro quote there. It's interesting. He's gotten called out in a positive manner from Ross Atkins at the start of spring, saying one guy I'm going to focus in on is Alan Roden because he is someone who he thinks that can break camp. This was Ross Atkins' comments at the start of spring. He's been absolutely fantastic. I still think there's a chance that he breaks the team. It would require probably George Springer taking a step back, who's been atrocious this spring, which is a topic for another video. And it's going to be interesting with Alan Roden and how that goes. And following today's game, and in case you missed it, here's a quick box score. Anthony Santander looked great. Vladdy looked very good. It looked solid. Bichette looked fantastic. Will Wagner went 2 for 2, got on base 4 times with 2 walks. And Will Wagner, this is a conversation to be had now because Will Wagner, there's a very good chance that they're going to be starting him at, I'm not necessarily saying third base, but he played really good third base today. You can see this lineup here: Bichette, Wagner, Guerrero, Santander, Varsho, Kirk, Roden, Clement, Jimenez, with George Springer on the bench. With everyone healthy, is the best version of this team. I tend to agree with this. Roden has looked fantastic, and I think there's a real chance now after these comments, after the way that everybody's been performing, the lack of performance from George Springer, even though it has been spring training, has been really bad. Alan Roden shining. Will Wagner playing really good defense, and if he can find a way to be a serviceable third baseman, because man, oh man, he looked very good at third base today. But if he can be a third baseman, that's a hole instantly plugged. But then, of course, Ernie Clement might be on the outside looking in. But I think Ernie Clement's going to start opening day at third base. You have Will Wagner at DH. But having Will Wagner, giving him the ability to play third base can allow you to move things around, whether that's, against righties, Will Wagner starts at third and then opens up the DH spot for someone else like an Alan Roden, like an Aurelvis Martinez to get in there. Because Aurelvis could get in there easily against, to DH against lefties at times if, different players can play third, all these different things, right? It opens up a lot if Will Wagner can play third base. And I think a top 4 of Will, Vladdy, Anthony Santander, and Bo Bichette, that's a very good chance it's the opening day starting lineup because, again, Orioles are going to be starting right-hander Zach Eflin on Thursday. It's going to be an interesting one a week from today, of course. And in case you missed it, Will Wagner with a fantastic game overall, base 4 times, but his defense is fantastic. He had this. He also had a barehanded play. Like, his defenses look good, which is the biggest question mark for Will Wagner. This is a very exciting player here, and one they got, of course, a part of a 3-team package. We were talking about Joey Loperfido, Jake Bloss, and Will Wagner. The trade keeps on giving. With Alan Roden playing well, with Will Wagner playing well, with these moves already being done now, and Aurelvis and players like that heading down, it's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens going forward with this team. A couple other notes here. Max Scherzer, after he threw a bullpen session, said his plan is for him to pitch in a game on Saturday. And then John Schneider said he'd like to see him throw 65 to 70 innings. So tomorrow, or pitches, sorry, not innings, that would be absurd. Tomorrow is going to be a big telling point for Max Scherzer. We'll have an update with that tomorrow because opening day is now a week away, right? You have to really start locking in on specifically Max Scherzer and what his health is going to be before you make calls surrounding Ariel. And Eric Swanson said he threw for the first time, felt good, was encouraged. They didn't need anything done other than a shot. So far, so good. He's not going to require Tommy John. He's looking good, and he's probably going to factor into the bullpen as well. Maybe not opening day, but very soon after that. So a bunch of different things that are going on here. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Ladies and gentlemen, opening day is just around the corner. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.